You are listening to the Success Diaries podcast. I'm your hostess, Bree Seeley, a creative growth strategist and top entrepreneur coach on Google. The Success Diaries is your invitation to do success on your own terms. Every episode features interviews with entrepreneurs and change makers around the world living their success on their terms. On today's episode of the Success Diaries, we welcome Mr. Scott Eddy. After 10 years in investment banking, Scott moved overseas and lived in Europe and Asia for 17 years. While living in Bangkok, he started the first digital agency in Southeast Asia, and it remained the biggest one in the region for 5 years. After selling the agency and spending some time in Europe while building his personal brand, Scott now travels full-time while building digital strategies for brands, speaking at conferences, creating content packages, and consulting for the world of luxury travel. He just signed on to become the TV host for a new travel series coming out on Lifetime Television called Video Globetrotter. Hello, Success Diaries listeners. Bree Seeley here, back again for another episode. Super excited for our conversation today. Scott and I have been connected on social media for a long time and finally met in person about 18 months ago. He's incredible, and I love his perspective, so I'm super excited to share him with you. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Bree. So happy to be here.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy you said yes. So as the listeners probably already know by now, many episodes in, we start off asking, what is your definition of success?
So my definition of success it's basically the quality of people in your life. So it's not too difficult to be successful in business and get that right job, that right paycheck, that right salary, those right promotions. But it's very difficult to get the right circle in your life. It's very difficult to have those right people that surround you, that lift you up and not constantly bring you down, or have to share the same values as you, and just that's the tough part in life.
So bring us back to a time when you didn't have the right people around you. So it's one thing to have those relationships, but it's another thing. I think a lot of people don't recognize how those relationships impact everything else that goes on in your life and who you are and how you feel and how you show up in your life. So take us back to a time when you didn't have the right relationships in your life and tell us how that was impacting you and who you were and how you presented in the world.
Well, I was in the investment banking world for about 10 years. And obviously in that industry, you're around a lot of egos, a lot of big personalities, a lot of greed. And I'm not going to tell you that I didn't have the right people surrounding me that were very close. I was just also around people that were very much like that, one-track mind. They're willing to do anything to get ahead. And the only thing that matters is your monthly paycheck. I was very fortunate growing up that I had the right parents, which you can't really choose at all. And it was always stressed to me that people are more valuable than money, from a young age. You know, my dad was a police officer. So and he was a detective, and in order to solve the right cases, you need to have those right relationships in the streets and this and that. And my dad was always well liked in the streets, and he always emphasized those relationships. So even going through a period of those 10 years being in an industry that's not really nice, I did learn how to sell anything to anybody. So I'm grateful for that. And I am grateful that I met a handful of good people in that industry. But now that I'm in the tourism industry predominantly, the people in the travel space they're the best people in the world because they have such a global perspective on everything. It's not just, there's some people in America that's all they know because they've never left the country. They don't understand any other cultures. They don't understand any other language. They don't understand anything except that. So when you have blinders on and you don't look at a global perspective, I lived in 6 different countries for 17 years, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I really didn't become alive in life until I was 29 years old when I left the States.
So tell us about that coming alive. Like, what do you mean by like coming alive? What was that shift for you?
So I was 29. They sold the firm that I was working at in the investment banking world. And I went on a trip to Bangkok to see a friend of a friend who I've been sort of connected with. And I've never been to Europe and never been to Asia. And I went to Bangkok on a 2-week ticket, and so Bangkok, including the suburbs, is about 13.5 million people. It's a very, very large city. You could fit Manhattan inside Bangkok multiple times, just to give you a perspective. And I didn't know that it was possible to be in that big of a city with like almost no like violent crimes or like things that you see every day in this country. It's non-existent because the people, the culture, they're just so kind. It's ridiculous. And I didn't know that was even possible. So it changed my life almost overnight. And 4 days later, I just sent for my things. I said, why am I going back? I have no job. Like, I have no girlfriend or wife or kids holding me down. Like, let's just roll the dice. And I ended up spending 11 years in Bangkok. And it changed my whole life. And then a few years later, that's when digital came out. And I ended up starting the first digital agency in Southeast Asia. And we were the biggest for 5 years. And that's where I learned the whole social marketing, tech, that whole side. And, it's just nice. Every time you go to dinner, you're around other expats and Thai people, and you have 4 different languages, 4 or 5 different cultures sitting across from you everywhere that you go. And it blew me away. It changed my mindset on everything.
Yeah. So this is only audio, unfortunately, but I just wanted to describe to the listeners quickly.
Okay. I didn't know that. I thought we were doing video.
Well, we are doing video just so you and I can
I did my hair. Come on.
It's like we're back in Florida having brunch.
Right.
But when Scott transitioned into talking about Bangkok, his entire being lit up. And he got this smile and this joy about him that wasn't necessarily present when we were talking about the investment banking. And so what I can see in you and feel in you is this like visceral difference between how life was before and then stepping into this like opening, this expansion for yourself. So what has kind of transpired since then? So you lived in Bangkok for 11 years. You got opened up to this huge perspective of how life can be and the connection and the quality of people and all of this stuff. How has that continued to play out in your life since that time?
So one thing I realized very quickly, and my only goal in life, is to meet as many people in as many countries as I can, as quickly as I can, because once you have those relationships, opportunities they're going to happen organically. You don't have to force them. So I realized very quickly that when social media came around, and if nobody knows, in Southeast Asia, social media is something that you've never seen before in your life. If you think it's big in the States, it's just on hyperdrive. It has steroids in Asia. So I grew an audience very, very quickly. And that's when the whole personal brand came around after I sold my agency and I really built up my brand. And I quickly realized that I could be meeting people around the world 24 hours a day on my social media. So then I just started to say, oh, well, why don't I go here for a little bit and here for a little bit? And I ended up I was in Manila for a year. I went to Sri Lanka for a year. I was in Spain for 4 years, Lisbon, in Portugal for a year, and London for a year. So, and nothing really changed business-wise. Sort of like now with the pandemic, everybody's working remotely, everybody's working from their laptop and headphones. That was me all those years after I left Thailand. And it was incredible. So now, my phone is my office, and I bounce around the world. And now I'm very deeply ingrained in the tourism world. And so Yeah, I do some of those quote unquote influencer campaigns just because I have a big audience and I'm really deep in that space. But that really accounts for only 10% of my income. I just use those trips, those campaigns to get me eyeballs because it does get me a tremendous amount of eyeballs. But then I turn those eyeballs into real services that I still provide all the services of a digital agency. So, I create digital strategies. I do consulting. I speak at probably 20, 25 events per year. I do a lot of things in the digital space. I do a lot of drone photography, drone videos. I work with an incredible video guy, some of the best photographers, and we just do a lot for destinations, airlines, hotels, and in the cruise industry.
Cool.
So, I pretty much travel full time. I'm only in Florida maybe less than a week a month, and I do about 20 to 25 countries a year.
Awesome.
So that's, in a nutshell, that's it.
So I'm assuming that the quality of people in your life then now has changed. What would you say if someone is surrounded right now by some quality of people that just aren't filling them? Maybe they're energy vampires, maybe they're verbally abusive, maybe they're whatever they are, right? They're just not a great quality of people. You were lucky in that you got to leave a job in an industry and all of those things were gone. How do you recommend people kind of either, I don't know, put up boundaries or walk away from relationships in order to kind of clean house and get rid of the wrong quality of people?
So here's what I do. And again, it's not for everybody and people may judge it or not judge it, but I look at everything exactly the same. So I make business decisions in my life. I don't want anybody to be on the fence about me. And I say that on a personal level because my personal and business life is basically the same. If somebody is on the fence about you, they're not sure, they're not really in love with you, but they'll tolerate you. Why have them in your life? I want people in my life that love me more than I love them. Or our love is bursting at the seams. Because any of my close friends and any of my family members are exactly the same for me. I would do the same. I'd take a bullet for any of them. And, you're only as good as the team that you have. And that team is also friends I consider just as valuable as your team in business. You got to pull the plug. You got to make tough decisions with friends, just like you would make tough decisions in your business. You have to. And not only that, and say you do have 8 quality people in your life, you constantly have to try to squeeze in that extra one. You constantly have to try to find that 9th member of your team. You have to. Your cheerleaders, you can never have enough. So I make it a point. I tweet to 2 new people every day that I'm not following.
Wow.
Twitter, Instagram's the hottest thing right now, and I understand that. And Facebook's there as well. Every different platform has its own personality, and you got to use it like that.
Are you a TikToker yet?
Yeah. So anything that comes out, I go on immediately and grab my name and throw out a few videos. I think I've made, 20 posts, 30 posts, 10 posts, something like that. But I'm there and I log on every day and I see what's going on and this and that. And I'm having conversations on there as well. So every platform, not only Twitter, but Twitter is just, it's conversation. So Twitter is always going to be my baby. And for all you idiots out there who Twitter stocks get bashed and the management, they're idiots. They've never found a way to make it profitable and monetize and this and that. And nobody, if you're in an influencer space, nobody hires you for Twitter. Don't be an idiot. Just because you can't make money on a platform does not mean you can't develop a relationship, take those relationships and do something else. I still get 70 to 80% of my business from people finding me on Twitter and then wanting me to do something else somewhere else. Conversations, that's the only thing that matters in life. Who are you having conversations with? So I make it a point on every platform, every day to have at least 2 or 3 new comments to people that I'm not connected to. Because you just have no idea what's going to happen. You have no idea.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, you and I connected on social media. I don't even know how we quote unquote met.
Yeah.
I know we have Jeanette in common,
yeah.
but I feel like it was through Instagram or something. I have no idea.
Maybe. I mean, my whole life is connected, I'd say 70% of the people in life globally, I met on social at some point in time. And then we just either stayed very close digitally or we eventually met in real life.
Yeah.
I'd rather meet somebody that way than in real life. Because in real life, you don't know what skeletons are coming out of the closet, like in 6 months or a month. Or in social, I could find out everything about you in 30 seconds. I could find out how you comment, what's your personality like, who our mutual friends are, what you do, what's your background. Like, I could find out everything.
I was at an event once and someone was like, "Oh, what's your story?" And I was like, here's the bones of my story or whatever. And someone looked up and said, "That sounds fake." And I looked at him and I said, "Google me. Good luck." Like, everything about me is on the internet, minus a few things. There are a few things that are not on the internet. I try to keep my dating life off the internet, although sometimes I post funny things about my dating life. But awesome. So let's see, you have increased the quality of people in your life. You're killing it with your career, obviously. Oh, I think one thing I wanted to point out too is that a lot of people have this like short-term focus when they're on social media connecting with people. That it's like, oh, we're going to connect, but if you don't hire me right away, then I'm out. And they don't, one thing I'd love for you to speak on is like the longevity that it takes to actually build that relationship to get to that point where someone wants to like hire you or have brunch with you or, whatever.
So it's just like if I'm speaking at an event and then after the event or after my talk, people line up and they want to talk to you, right? You spend those extra 15 minutes, a half hour, whatever it is. And arguably the biggest question I get is, oh, I've been blogging for 6 months and, how can I do, what's a shortcut? How can I get to where you are? I'm like, okay, well, you need to spend 10 years on every platform being super active every day. And then it may or may not happen. But everybody wants that quick fix. So I'm the wrong person to ask if you're looking for shortcuts. There's people out there and they use automated this and automated that. And I'm in the long game.
Ditto.
I am not looking for you to hire me overnight. That's why I don't even check DMs on Twitter anymore, even though it's my favorite platform. I don't check them because all it is people asking you to do something. If I get an email from a stranger or a message from a stranger and it does not start off by, "Hey, how are you?" and like talking to me like I'm a human, I don't even read the rest of it. Because like we are two humans talking. So very quickly, if I do get an interesting email, my number one response is, "Hey, can we hop on a call and talk about this?" Connect. If you can't connect in person, connect that voice. There has to be a connection. It can't be typing on both sides. There has to be. Like I jump on a call with people that I've been connected with online and I've never met in real life all the time. "Hey, why don't you call me?" Like, let's get as close as we can without getting clse.
Especially nowadays, 6 feet. Just kidding.
Oh yeah. God, I want to hug people so bad. I want to just go out and hug everybody.
I saw some meme that was, and for everyone listening to this is being recorded at the end of April, but because it's going to come out a little bit later, but I saw some meme that was like, the second we're all released, everyone's just going to be running into the streets, hugging neighbors that like strangers they've never met before, just being like, "I love you, man. I love you." Yeah. It's hard. I obviously live alone. Well, with my cat. She's on one hand, a fantastic quarantine buddy. She wants to cuddle all the time. It's great. On the other hand, not a fantastic quarantine buddy. She cannot play Scrabble, and she's really terrible at doing puzzles with me. But awesome. Well, any last thoughts on success or building, quality relationships that you'd like to share?
Listen, you need to pull that plug. It's just like when you have that Band-Aid on and it hurts when you go slow. It's the same thing about relationships. Why go slow? Go through 1 second of pain versus 15 seconds of pain. So those 15 seconds feel like 15 years.
Yeah.
Pull
And you're talking about pulling the plug in terms of like removing not quality people from your life.
Correct. Like I know people that, and they talk to me about, like, I really don't like her. I heard she was talking about me again and this and that. And I'm just like, pull the plug. Like, why don't you just, I know I'm thinking about it and this and that. And you're killing yourself, because that's weighing your brain down and it's holding you back from what you could be doing over here. And you have no idea who you could replace that with. Great people are around. There's some wonderful humans on this planet. I want to meet every one of them.
I love that. Well, tell everyone where they can connect with you, where they can send you a message and say, hey, Scott, how are you?
Everywhere but Twitter. So I'm at Mr. Scott Eddy, Eddy, on every platform. And that's my website as well.
Cool. Super easy. Well, thank you so much. You are definitely a quality human that I have the pleasure of knowing. And I'm so grateful we got to do this. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Wait. Don't go yet. I wanted to say a quick thank you for joining me for this episode today. I am so incredibly grateful you are here. 2 last quick things. 1, I want to hear what's in your success diaries. So hop on over to Instagram, come find me at Bree Seeley, to share with me what your definition of success is and how you're living that definition this week. Second thing, if you are an entrepreneur and you are looking to build or scale your tailor-made business to monetize your genius, I have a great free course I would love to share with you. You can grab it at breeseeley.com/yes. This course is really going to help you do all of the necessary work to build and scale a business that is aligned with your unapologetic self. Much love to you today and every day. I will see you next week on the Success Diaries, which also reminds me, please be sure to subscribe so that you can get this in your notifications every single week. Bye for now, friends.